everyone, and welcome again to yet another fantastic episode or video, as is YouTube language. So this week I'm particularly going to talk about something that was triggered by the last video. If you haven't watched that, please do watch the last video about self-promotion. But it was also because someone asked me, how do I actually get to work with my fellow creatives in the African entrepreneurship world? So she's a fabric designer, and she's wondering how her fabrics could be, how could she get to talk to fashion designers or interior designers or anyone to really get to use her fabrics. And I think this is something that triggered a really big mistake that people are doing as small businesses, and that is not asking. So without further ado, in this particular video, we're going to be talking about asking, because asking is huge part of being able to grow your small business. If you don't ask, you don't get, you don't grow, you don't know. So stick around for the rest of the video, and see you soon. When most of you are doing your small business, the mistake that I'm seeing happen quite a lot is having the wrong mindset around asking for help, because you seem to think you seem to be afraid of a few things, which is all fair enough, because it's not always that easy for people to ask all the time. But that's why I'm hoping by the end of this video you will be able to understand why it's important, and you just have to do it. And it doesn't cost a thing, but it's quite important for you to try and ask where you need the help. Ask as much as you can. So before you go further ahead, as usual, don't forget to hit subscribe, don't forget to like and comment. Please, let's just try and keep it as interactive as possible. Let me know in the comments if there's any questions that are coming up. So as I was saying, the things that people are afraid, and there's so many reasons why people are afraid, but I'll just mention a few of them as to why people feel afraid to ask. So one, you're afraid, obviously, the very obvious one is afraid of rejection. You're afraid of someone saying no to you. And yet, and I know asking does vary from one thing to another, depends on what you're asking about, but many times the biggest failure, the biggest holdback that people are having is that they are afraid that the person or whoever they're going to ask is going to say no, and then they just don't bother asking. And the other one that people are afraid of asking, the reason why people are afraid of asking is they think they have to have so much ready for their question to come out. And that's another thing that I feel just overcomplicating it. You feel like, and sometimes imagine if you're looking for probably some funding or some money for your projects or something like that, or even for your little business, you feel like, okay, so now I've got to make sure my presentation is all ready, I've got to make the Sometimes, and I say that a lot, many times I feel like that should not be the case. First, you need to approach and be able to ask and know what exactly it is that you need to prepare for, because you don't prepare for what you don't know. Yes, you might have researched the organization or the person or whatever it is, but I would say most times it's better to first ask and then at least get the ball rolling from there. So number three, and the biggest thing for me that I feel that people should really address, that most people with small business need to address, is that they are afraid that when they ask, someone is going to steal the idea. Now, this is drawing back to the question that triggered this this discussion, where someone says, oh, but I got my fabrics, how can I approach interior designers and whatnot? Or even collaborating with your fellow person, whether you're doing the same products. I keep saying it is always going to be collaboration over competition. Yeah. And when I say, and I say this in the last video as well, please do check it out. When you ask, it's not immediate competition. Asking or sharing your work is not immediate competition. Last week I talked about sharing your work. This week I'm talking about asking. It is not immediate competition, because your idea is your idea. How you execute it, you might have the same thing, but how you execute it is completely different from how someone else is going to execute it. So please try and get the idea of, oh, but someone is going to steal my idea out of your mind. it doesn't work that way. They are not you, and yes, they might take the idea, but they may not run it the same way you do, because they also have a different reason why they're starting that idea, and you have a very different reason why you're starting your idea. So that one, I clearly keep telling you, do you go ahead and ask, but just don't worry about competition, about people stealing your idea. It's just not going, that's not how it works. Yes, there's competition, but it has to be healthy competition. Yeah. So with that said, once you get those obstacles out of your mind, because the problem is once you have all those obstacles, you just start to think, oh, but okay, I'm just going to go and, sort of, should I say, Google some of these ideas. Yes, you could Google them, fair enough, because I use Google all the time, but it is always so much better if you know directly who you want to ask. Why not just go ahead and ask anyway? Because there's no harm in asking. It's not like it's going to cost you anything. It's not like you're going to spend, I don't know how much, to just open your mouth and say, hey, I need help with this or that. It doesn't cost you anything. And I kept saying, yes, as much as we talked about the fear of rejection being no, that's the worst that could happen. It's not like you're going to die because someone has said no. No, but at least you know. At least you asked. So the other thing that actually happens when you don't, when you hold back and resist asking, is that you're going to end up in this loop of indecision, constant loop of indecision, ultimately ending up making very much more expensive mistakes for your small business. And we all know how every single penny in a small business is important. So not asking basically just takes you in this rule of, okay, I'm going to try and do it myself. Yes, you will do it yourself, but why not ask in advance or try and find out something to make it quicker or shorten your process a bit more. So I always say the first part, when you find a problem or when you find a situation that you need to, when you have a problem or when you have a situation or when you need a solution for something, the first thing I always say is ask. If you're curious about trying to ask how to work with someone, the worst thing, just send them a DM. Send them a DM and say something like, hey, I really love what you do. I particularly like this project that you worked on. I actually thought, oh, that was really, really cool. And imagine what it would work like if it this and this and this. And just thinking, by the way, I was wondering, are you open to using this kind of fabrics? Have you ever thought about it? And what, and then you go ahead and say, maybe we could schedule a chat if that's okay, or a call, and leave it at that, and leave it to them. And if they go ahead and respond back to your DM and and say yes, sure, why not, then everyone's winning, right? But at least you asked. Because the other thing is, if you don't ask, you're going to be constantly like indecision, but you're also going to be in this constant world of, was I sure, was I not too sure, like you're just the what if world. You're sort of thinking, but what if I asked, but maybe I should have, maybe they could have said no, maybe they could have understand, maybe, and you start to think for those other person. And yet, guys, why do you have to think for someone else, and yet the person can actually openly tell you what it is? They will tell you their thinking, as opposed to you trying to think for them and construct all these stories in your mind. So yeah, so that's something that I hope is also clear. If you had a persistent problem with your health, you would go to the doctor immediately to try and get some help, right? So you don't just stay there and think, oh, let me try this, let me try that, let me try that. No, if it's persistent, you would actually go and seek that help. So it's the same thing. If you have this persistent problem or curiosity or something that you're wondering about, go ahead and ask about it. Go ahead and ask yourself what you need or what you can do about the situation. Remember, asking for help does not make you desperate. It doesn't make you seem like, oh my God, you're struggling and da 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 da. No, it's just a simple asking for help. It's just asking. It's not like, yeah, fine, yeah, you might be struggling with something. You might have a situation where you desperately need help sometimes. But I'm talking about a situation where you're just trying to grow your business. You're trying to talk to collaborate with someone, and or trying to get a grant. It's a simple thing of just, it's not like you're you would die if you didn't get that answer. It's just simply, putting it out there. Then it just gives you peace of mind and clarity, and at least you know that you did something. It's sort of one step in moving towards your small business, because I'm all about making tiny steps, moving that needle as close as possible, as close as possible, as close as possible. Yeah. So that's the other thing. So don't be afraid to ask. Have the courage to ask. Um, it if you're not comfortable with the person that you're going to ask on something, then you can always find someone else who is more within your circles or within your usual people that you can ask, or you can ask someone who will know someone who will know someone. But again, it all starts with taking that first step, and asking. So I hope this has been helpful. Like I said, it's just a simple thing of taking that courage, of sending that DM. Just introduce yourself, say, hi, I'm this and this and this, and this is what I'd like to do, and this is what I do. I was wondering about da 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 da. And yeah, just leave it at that. Don't throw too much, don't over prepare, don't over indulge into that. Just a simple discussion first, just to know where that person is, where that person is at, and if they can actually be able to help you. Sometimes they might be able to help you. Most times people are actually willing to help. But if they're not, then you understand, and at least you also know that you asked. So that's what we had for you for this video. I hope it has been helpful. I hope it has given you a little bit of courage to start to ask. Please let me know in the comments below what you think about it. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if this has been helpful. So, in conclusion, continue to keep creating the business you love. Use what you already have with you to create that business that you love. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye-bye.